am so excited to welcome you to this episode of A Superwoman Handbook. We're going to talk about something you probably hear a lot about or you see a lot of TV commercials for smoking cessation. And no, this is not a funny jingle for a pharmaceutical. We're going to talk about it from a very holistic perspective. And honestly, we're going to approach it the way we approach everything from within. So many things in life start right here with you, with loving yourself first. So today we're going to chat with our good friend Jessi. I'm so excited to have her. When we did our initial kind of pre-conversation, everything she said really resonated with everything we talk about in this podcast. Anything you want to do starts with loving yourself first. So Jessi, I'm so excited to hear your journey and how you took the very basic human concept of loving yourself first and turn that into your journey of stopping quitting.
Yes, thank you for having me. I really struggled with smoking. I started smoking really young. I was only 13. And I think I started because I was looking for some sense of community. And now when I look back, I can see that I was looking for initiation. I wanted to become an adult, be part of something, and figure out my identity. And so that was a way for me to be blessed. Was welcomed into the community by adults, by older friends, and it made me feel like I had control over my body and my choices. But it quickly kind of spiraled. I got really hooked pretty much right away, and it took started taking priority over the other things that I found joy in life, like playing music and being active, and it was damaging my relationships. I was creating a lot of distance with the people that didn't smoke. And I was always kind of hiding away and living a lot in shame and secrecy. And that was really tough for me. And what ended up happening too is that I had this really strong perfectionist streak where I wanted to do everything right and I would work very hard. And the smoking became very tied to that part of me. They were like two sides and they're both really obsessive and controlling. So I would work really hard, do everything I could, and then I would smoke a lot and have control that way. So I got locked into this pretty unhealthy cycle. And meanwhile, I was becoming very emotionally dependent on smoking, especially being so young. I didn't have a lot of tools to emotionally regulate. And so anytime I had an unwanted emotion, things like frustration, stress, sadness, I would turn to smoking. And so I built those patterns really strong where I didn't know how to function, not just with the physical aspects of smoking. We all know about that, but emotionally. So I just got really locked into it for a very long time. And no matter what I tried to do in terms of willpower or strategy, like weaning or nicotine reduction or anything like that, none of those strategies worked for me because what was happening was I would have cravings whenever I had negative self-talk. And it took me a long time to notice it and to realize it doesn't have to be that way. I was so used to being a sergeant to myself, saying, work harder, get up, do this, you're not enough, kind of being very comparing and competitive with everyone around me, wanting to measure up and be good enough and have worth. And so I was very, very hard on myself. And that was the biggest part of my drive to smoke. So it took me like years to notice that. And I just started becoming very curious and open. I was introduced to some spiritual concepts that really struck home for me and started to think, hey, maybe there's something outside of this, like Darwinism perspective, where it's survival of the fittest and you need to compete with everyone for limited resources. They're all against each other and disconnected. And once I started to integrate those concepts, then I started to notice the self-talk and worked hard to help change that. It was very difficult. I was so used to it, so on autopilot. And to say things like, I love myself, I mean, I just wanted to throw up. I was like, no way, this is not me. And there were so many beliefs I had, like, this is selfish, this is wrong, you have to sacrifice, kind of like a martyr thing going on too. And so I had to chip on it bit by bit, just kind of open myself, like maybe I could love myself. And what would a person that loves themselves act like? What would they say to themselves? And kind of just ease my way into it. And when I kept up with it and committed to it and was also quitting smoking at the same time. Like, it took me maybe 100 times. I don't even know. It was very hard. But at the time I was quitting smoking, and so I was having more confidence, and it felt true. It was like, I do love myself because 'cause I'm not smoking, and it kinda became like this cycle where it spiraled, and I grew to really understand who I am, trust my intuition, show myself respect, and lift myself up because it was completely 180 from how I had been living where it's like, you have to be, like, motivate yourself through being really tough and hard. And instead, I turned to being very kind and gentle. And that's actually what helped me ultimately quit smoking for good.
So you said first that you started smoking to kind of fit in and be part of the group, but then you mentioned how it was also alienating you.
Yes.
And I just kind of want you to like unpack that a little bit.
What I find in working with other people that smoke too is that that's always how it goes. The very thing that you turn to smoking for is what it takes away. It's like irony at its best. I don't know how it happens. I think maybe you put too much stock into the smoking. You have a problem and you want the smoking to solve it, but it can't. And part of unpacking that and quitting is realizing that it's not giving the thing that you came for because the brain only sees what it believes. You get caught in this pattern where you're like, smoking relieves stress. And you really start to think that it does. But if you open yourself up, take a look back, look at all the, evidence, you're going to see that my heart rate's increasing. My breathing is shallow. I'm in fight or flight right now. This is not a stress relief. And with friends with that, like I said, it kind of just became like, do you smoke or not? And if you don't, then we don't have anything in common. I thought smoking was like a personality trait. It really became part of my identity, which now I see is really silly. It's just a behavior. It's something you can change. It's just a mask of this personality we put on. We don't have to be anything that we've been before. We can always change and we can always choose a better life for ourselves, no matter how long we've been in a pattern. So that was the critical part, was that I could shed that mask and also just kind of drop. There was so much emotion in it. So I really took on the feeling of the bad guy, like, oh, I'm bad because I smoke. It was like a rebellion thing too. So it was really tied into how I saw myself. And I had to let that go and be like, no, there's not really bad and good guys. We all have bad and good in us. And I don't have to live this out like a movie.
And so kind of take me through the journey you had where you were kind of being hard on yourself and then you transitioned to a softer side to kind of just being kinder to yourself. And how do you make that shift?
Like I said, it was difficult because I was so used to it and change is uncomfortable. But luckily, I have people in my life that I love, and I was able to model that love for myself. So I would think, like, I wouldn't talk to, my now husband like this. So why would I talk to myself like this? And he showed me what love was really like. He was so patient and understanding and gentle. And so that helped me, like, maybe I could treat myself like this, like he treats me, like he sees this in me. Maybe I could find this in myself because I really didn't know how to love. It was something I needed to learn, at least myself. Like, and then, like I said, I could model the love I had for him, for myself, because he was easy to love. So I would kind of envision, like, okay, what would I say to him? How would I react? And then I would do that for myself. I had to come into that worth though and convince myself that I was deserving of it, because that was the biggest hurdle, was that, okay, this is what love looks like, but I don't deserve that because I'm bad. So I had to kind of untangle all these thought patterns and stop them midway through by questioning them. Is that true? And what do I want to be true in my life? So I used affirmations a lot. I would tell myself things. So I would have a negative thought and then I would counteract that immediately with a positive thought. So I'd be like, oh, you're so stupid. And then I would say to myself, you're trying the best you can. You are enough. I love you. Things like that to counteract the negative thoughts. And then slowly my brain just started shifting more to those positive thoughts from repeating them enough time. There's an intention to it too, like just a willingness to go there. And that imagination helped a lot. Just what could my life look like? Because I don't think I was just kind of stuck. I was like, this is the way it is. This is the way it has to be. So I kind of had to be a little playful too and start to dream again like a kid. Like this could be amazing if I let it. It's because your attitude can shift everything in a second. We all know that. Um, you could be having a really good time or a really bad time based on what you expect. So I started to expect this better life for myself and build up my worth to get there.
Very intrigued to hear you say that you wouldn't allow yourself to love yourself to the level that you would love your husband. And then when you realized that you could love him to this level, then you would give yourself permission to love yourself that way. I kind of want to talk about that more and more specifically, why? What was the catalyst to make you think that you weren't deserving of it to begin with?
So I think this is a very common thing. I honestly think that every person is wounded. We're born in this world, we have gifts, we are who we are. We're not blank slates that people write on us, but we have to survive. And we do certain things to get acceptance, to get love. And sometimes those things conflict with who we really are and what we really need in life. And so I think that I had gotten on this path of seeking external validation, and I wasn't living in alignment with who I really was and what felt right for me. I had learned to fight my intuition. So I would want to do things. I want to be a certain way and say certain things and have this energy. And I was told that no, that's not what you do. I mean, it's just part of, it's not like there's anything wrong. We all come up in certain cultures and that's passed on to us, but something in that can kind of suppress our light, what we really want to shine out because it's not accepted and it's not blessed. And so that's what happened to me. And so I realized like if I performed really well, if I worked really hard, if I had this kind of perfectionist tendencies, then I would get love and acceptance. And the way that I did that was through negative self talk. So I was getting benefits from the negative self talk. That's how I wound up there. But then I had to realize this is causing way more harm than good. And it might not be true. Things that were true when we were a child don't have to be true when we're an adult, and a child simplifies things that, they can't process as much. So they kind of make up stories to understand the world around them. And sometimes those stories are not true. They're too simple and they don't take in the complexity of what we need as humans. So I think that's why I had gotten that harsh to myself is because I wasn't living authentically. So that was a huge part too of coming into self-love with the permission. It was the permission to receive love and the permission to be who I am.
Like that, the permission to be who you are, to be authentic, then you could love yourself.
Yes.
I love that. And so from that, then you mentioned that you tried to quit smoking 100 times. What was that journey like?
So that was before I had adopted this strategy of motivation through being kind because I was so convinced that I was inadequate and that I was bad and that I needed to become a better person. If I just tried harder, if I was just smarter, if I just wise up, none of that worked. That was where I tried 100 times because none of that worked. And I tried the medical approaches, like with the patches and the gums and all the products and kind of the swapping out kind of thing. Like, oh, if I can just swap it out for something that's not as bad. But that wasn't getting to the root of what was actually happening to drive my need for something outside of me to comfort me. And I didn't know how to self regulate. It's hard. I'm still working on it. I never learned that as a kid. So I've had to learn as an adult. And that was something that needed to be priority over just avoiding the gas station. That's kind of the thing I thought is I could just throw them away, get away from them. If I'm out with my smoker friends, like all these kind of like really surface level issues. That's what I was focusing on. And they weren't fixing the real needs I had, the real emotional needs. And so they all failed.
I can see that just Stay away from the tangible, the gas station, getting access to the cigarettes, not the internal drive of, well, what is this a proxy for? What need am I trying to fill with this cigarette, with this candy bar, with this sex, with this, whatever you as a person are trying to fill. And so once you identified, I think that's when the real work begins.
Oh,
You've
yeah.
identified, okay, I'm trying to fill this with this, then what? What was that journey like when you said, "Oh, holy cow, I'm trying to fill this need with this cigarette." What do you do then?
Yes. So I really think it's interesting what you were saying too, because the thing is that you can always find cigarettes around the corner. They're always gonna be there. The option's always there to take, and if you try to replace it with something else, use something to fulfill that void and not deal with the void itself, then those patterns are just gonna come up. Those self-destructive patterns will come up in other ways. Like, it's not my story, but I heard someone that, like, really got into exercise. They quit smoking and they used to exercise to stop smoking, which sounds great, but they were being really abusive with the exercise. They were way over exercising, negative self-talk. So these patterns will follow you and haunt you. And so when I realized what I was doing, I actually went through a lot of grief because I had to come to terms that smoking couldn't fix the problem. And that was really hard to take on because I was just like, no, like I have to do this on my own. Like, I was totally squashed by it because I had put the smoking up on a pedestal so much, like, kind of worshipped it in a way. It was a friend, it was an identity. It had so many roles in my life that to lose that and lose that connection to, pleasure, feeling good was hard. And I grieved that. I was just like, this is really tough to lose this thing, this tool, this only tool I have. And so I felt sorry for myself too. I went through some victimhood stuff, but then I didn't want to stay there. It wasn't helpful. So I guess, like I said, the spirituality stuff really carried me through. I started to look at ancient myths and understand the pain of life in a way that was empowering and beautiful. I started to see vulnerability as a strength, and that kind of shift my whole perspective where it's like, this is part of being human. This is something I can get through, and this is something that's enriching my life because we learn the most from challenges, from struggle, and this is part of me getting to somewhere I want to be. And I talked earlier about initiation with starting smoking. That for me was a false initiation. It didn't get me into the next phase of life, but quitting smoking was a real initiation. I was walking through the fire, I was in the forest. I had to become someone new. Part of me had to die. And so I could become a new person and live fully and enter a new phase of life. I finally was able to get over that childhood phase, I felt, where I felt empowered, confident, able to make choices.
And so what would you say a day is like now for you in your journey?
That's so good. So I struggled a lot too with regret. It was like, once you get to the other side, you're like, what have I been doing? I wasted all this time. Come on. But like I said, if you see in that context of like, hey, I couldn't be where I am now if I hadn't gone through what I did. And that helps me feel good because I like where I am at. I'm in a place where I enjoy life and I see beauty and I have gratitude and joy because it was really rough for me back then. I would, smoke first thing in the morning and it just set the tone for my whole day. And now I have so much more freedom and confidence. I think that's been the biggest bane of putting that like no one talks about it is the confidence. Like I just feel good about myself and I feel strong, but I'm also able to be more soft, give myself rest, give myself space. And yeah, it's just been a really great thing in my life in all aspects. It's helped my relationships. And I feel like I'm set up now for more resilience. If things come my way, I don't crack as easily. And I have that, like, knowing that trust, that wisdom that I've gotten through this whole thing that carries me through the hard times. And I'm a mother now. That's something I never envisioned for myself. I was so self-destructive. I really thought that, every day is like, let's see what happens. I don't really care if I live or if I die or what happens. And I'm so far from that now. I wake up and I'm just so grateful to be alive and be a mother to this little girl. And it's just really opened up my possibilities.
That's something that I've kind of heard from all the stories I've heard from the ladies who've been so brave here to share, and just from my own, no matter what the fire is that you've gone through, it has forged you in some way to be stronger for the next phase of the journey. And I kind of hear that echoed in your story as well. And so, what would you say to someone who's listening who maybe is struggling with the smoking cessation journey? How could they find you online, or how could they find resources to further help their journey?
Yeah, so just to start off, it's so overwhelming. The very small thing that you can start to do to help yourself quit smoking is to start giving attention to your thoughts, because that's going to give you the clues you need to see what you're really needing. And then you're able to be creative, open your imagination, and meet those needs in ways that you haven't known you could do or didn't give you permission for, or just didn't know was possible. So that's just a real quick tip. And then you can find me. Wrote a book, I wrote a guide, and it's not a memoir, it's a guide to help people start to break down some of that inner turmoil and put it in mythic terms that they can understand how to move forward. And you don't have to be totally ready to quit, but just to start to open you up. It took me a while to integrate some of these ideas, longer than I wish I had. So that's why I wrote them down. So someone else could maybe get there a little quicker than I did. And that book is called Honor Your Heart. That's the name of my business. So you can find me on social media. I'm on TikTok, Instagram, and you name it, Facebook, YouTube. And you can find me under Honor Your Heart.
Love it. I'm so honored to have Jessi on today because I know on the surface these concepts may seem pretty basic. Love yourself first. We talk about this all the time. But for those who've gone through the journey, no matter what it is, smoking, alcohol, sex, negative self talk, going through the journey to remove that widget from your life is a long, hard journey. But once you have gone to that place and gotten to this place, it is 100% worth it, my friend, because you are forged from the fire and nothing can take you down. But you do truly have to go through the fire to get to the other side. And I absolutely encourage you, check out Jessi's material, go through the journey, no matter if it's smoking or alcohol, whatever your journey is. We are here to support you. We are a community of women who are going to help you straighten your crown to get to the other side. And I definitely encourage you to reach out, follow our threads. We're here to help you. Jessi, do you have any words to leave our audience with today?
Just be yourself. It's the hardest thing to do in life. It will enrich your life in so many ways where you can actually get peace and joy. And we need you. We need you to be yourself.